for people of the lower class to be able to afford it. So they fall back to schools like this to be able to give
to substandard schools.
Yes, to give their children education.
All right, so let me tell you actually what happened. Last year, 2023, a young lady carried out a research on some selected schools in Benue State. That is Favor Egbadeku from the 10X Education Consult. I carried out research both on government schools and private schools. When the government stated the reasons why they shut down these schools.
Yes.
Like
there's no curriculum, lack of lesson plan,
yes,
lack of qualified teachers.
So she went to both private schools and public schools. When she went to the public school, we had a conversation with her. She said, you see a school of primary 1 to primary 6 having one teacher.
That is one big problem I have with government schools.
And then you see a school also where the structures are already dilapidated.
Yes.
Overgrown with grasses.
Leaking roofs.
Though she went to a particular part of Benue State, that is a microcosm of the totality of Benue State.
Okay. It's not just Benue State. That is not just Benue State. That is the reality of some schools across the country. Because even in this FCT, if we carry out a survey in some government schools around the 6 area council in the FCT, I am sure that we will get more than 10 that has this sorry state of the structure. You will see schools with leaking roof. You will see schools with no chairs. You will see schools where the teachers are nonchalant when it comes to education. I, for one, went to a school where my teacher comes into the class and somebody provokes him and he goes, I don't blame you people. It's because I came to the class today. Don't worry. You will fail this test. You see this test. I'm setting it for you as a test. You will fail it. And he will leave the class. He will not teach you. And trust me, the next day people will write tests. You will fail it. You will put your head on the desk. He will flog you. So all of this is really annoying if you ask me. But I'm still worried about the common man.
So like I say, you see, these children will go to school and then they will not be having their lesson. No teacher attending to them. So some people just started bringing out the initiative of maybe doing some small schools
around the
and
corner.
Then and around the corner. And then in those schools also, they will not have qualified teachers.
Of course.
Just the secondary school leavers who don't know anything about lesson plan. They don't know anything about curriculum
or
teaching aid. They don't know it. So they just have many of them there. So the research that the government, the reasons the government advanced for closing down those schools, for the private schools, they're actually true. But they are not talking about the public school. They should also say something.
Look into that sector.
About the public school.
Yes. Look into that sector too. I, for one, feel like if you have a standard public school, why do I want to go to a private school? Like, of course, your generation mostly went to government schools. Mostly. But my generation mostly went to private schools.
Yeah.
The one after us, the Gen Zs and the Gen Alpha that are coming, they are still going to private schools.
Yeah.
Despite how expensive private schools are becoming these days, they still prefer private schools because you can't even find a standard government school.
No.
So I feel the government should look in, because let's look at it. The Benedictine Order Academy has over 900 students from nursery to secondary. Now, what happens to these students?
I know if you read about that Benedictine school, it's a charity school.
Yes.
I read that the Reverend Father Elias Toro, doesn't collect school fees from them. Many of those children are from the IDP camps and less privileged homes.
And they are on scholarship.
On scholarship.
Now, what now happens to these children? These are things I think the government should have looked into more before thinking of shutting down the school. And the proprietor of the school, that's Reverend Father Elias, he said they were somewhere before.
Yeah.
It's not like they have always been in this building, that they are just 2 weeks old in this building.
They were at the staff development center
before they were asked to vacate that place
Yeah.
by the same government.
Yeah.
Now they are here and that they are hoping to secure a better place. Though we would say that is not an excuse. However, I think the government should pay more attention. I am not in support of substandard school, because we cannot be saying that Nigeria wants to be at the world class level, and then we are not giving our children the best level of education. But then, if the government pays more attention into equipping the government-owned institutions and make it affordable for the common man, nobody will want to go into these substandard schools. Plus, I think it's also the greed of some teachers, because most of the people who have this kind of schools are teachers who have taught in one place and say, and then they pay me well. They now open their own. They carry SSCE holders to say, oh, you teach primary 1, you teach primary 2, without proper training.
Well, the thing now is that many of them open these schools, apart from the fact that we have schools that are being opened to help some people. But many other people are opening schools because it's a lucrative business now.
Yes, everybody
Not that they are passionate about education, not that they care about the children, but they want to make money. So everybody opens their own. There's money in school.
Just like there's money in church.
But for me, I believe that basic education, primary, secondary school, should be standard and should be made free. That means the government should be the one solely responsible for schools. There are places we've heard of states where private schools all over were shut down.
Yes.
Yeah, I think somewhere in the West.
Yes. So, hello viewers, I hope you're joining this conversation. So Mr. Da just said something. He said, in his opinion, he thinks that basic education, that is from primary to secondary, let's not forget nursery too. So nursery to secondary should be made free, and the government should be solely responsible for that. Do you agree with this? Me, somehow I also agree with it. And I also agree that people who go to government-owned higher institutions should go there at a subsidized rate. They should go there at a subsidized rate. Because why is government-owned institution competing with private school when it comes to school fees and all? Wetin happen? See, I don't like the illegalities that happen in our education system. I feel it is giving room for so many things, like malpractices, like impersonation, like violence and all of that, because these people are more money concerned than, which is why I support the government for this move to shut down illegal and substandard school. However, the Commissioner of Education in Benue State said they have given these 2,000 plus schools the opportunity to do the needful.
Yeah, to update.
While in Enugu State, they said they gave them 4 months, and those schools that did not meet up with the 4 months window or shut down. Imagine say they shut down 100 schools.
And then, for this particular school that is being used as an example, this Benedictine school is somehow attached to the Catholic Church, even though the father said that that particular order is not under Makurdi Diocese, but from a foreign nation. And they are having or receiving aid and support from that country. But the government need to consider the fact that the Catholic Church have been part of educational development in Nigeria and in the state, especially in Benue State and in Nigeria as a whole. I attended a Catholic school. Many of the Catholic schools in Benue State, they of standard, and they are very affordable. I paid school fees of 35 naira.
I paid school fees of 1,000. I'm not joking. I paid school fees of 1,000.
St. Francis College, Otukpo, is one of the best secondary school in Benue State, owned by the Catholic Church.
Oh shit!
Yeah, that was my school.
Student of St. Francis Benue, where you beat your chest. Proud alumni.
Yeah, we celebrated 80 years
of existence
this October.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite an old
established
school.
In 1944.
That's quite an old school.
Catholic school, if you go to that school, you think it's a university. Standard, but with affordable school fees. Boarding students were paying 75 naira
Because of accommodation and
feeding.
Yeah,
they students were paying
35
naira.
for this country. For this country, person pay 35 naira.
And so they have been passionate about education. Right from the onset, they are passionate. It's not money they are looking for. If you're talking about the Catholic institution, it's not money.
It's not money, yes. The Catholic
These people are purely into charity, into help, into educational development. So I believe that the government needed to have, consider that when it comes to this Benedictine order academy, because they just want to help.
Yes, because you have to consider this student too. See, in all of this, I am more worried of the students, of the children in this school, in this current economy that we are, where people can barely feed. And these parents from the IDP camp and, those who cannot afford these things, who have seen opportunity to send their children to school, these children now comes back home. And there's almost no hope for them because they now have to stay back home waiting for whenever the school management is able to get around all of the requirements, which can take a couple of weeks or even a couple of months. And they have to wait for that period before they can go back to school. So I am worried about what some of them will turn out to be, which is why I am campaigning, or I'm saying that the government should have looked more into giving us a standard and quality government schools before talking about shutting down the substandard private owned schools. Because if you shut down the substandard schools and you don't have a standard government schools, where will this student go to? You want them to go to government schools and sit on the ground?
So we need to hear from the government. What are they doing about the public schools? They have advanced reasons why they want to close down some of these schools. Now, what are they doing? Although I heard recently they are recruiting teachers for schools in Benue State now. I wonder if they are going to be enough, or if the recruitment is going to go through. But that is one. And then another thing, the structures need to be refurbished so that the student can, anybody, any child, anybody, any caliber of family, no matter how wealthy or poor you are, can take your child to a public school.
Facts.
To a public school.
Facts.
Now people take pride in the fact that their children are going to private schools.
Of course.
For you to show that you have money, for you to show that you are doing well, you now go to a school where you have to pay maybe 1.3 million per term in one private school somewhere to show that you say, my child is here, this is where my child is calling.
Of course.
But we need to be proud of this public primary school. This LGA primary schools, this Norcross Methodist school, this St. Francis primary schools, that were all free with good structures. All that the government needs to do is just to do the necessary, do the needful, employ the teachers. There are many people there. There are many of the teachers there that are there who need to be employed. Take care of them. Put priority in education.
I, for one, think,
and let every class of citizens take their children to those public schools.
Though I think it boils down to the policies around our education sector, right? I feel in our public education sector, that is the government schools, we have good teachers. But just like every other government institution, there is no check and balance. That's the way I see. There is no check and balance. See, in some standard private schools, we have supervisors who come from government institution, all those monitoring board that come to these private schools to monitor the school's operation, go through their lesson notes, their curriculum, and all of that, and give their opinions and all of that. We also have that in government schools, but you don't see as much as they go to private schools.
The private school is, like I said, business for a lot of people. And many times when these supervisors go there, they just settle them. Just sort them out.
And they walk away.
If you go to the board and you pay your money, you're just free to do your thing. Like people paying some money so that they could be helped. There are some special centers where you go write WAEC, you pay your NECO fee or WAEC fee, and then pay one extra money for sorting, for help, to be sure that the child will pass the exam. You know, so they do that. And those centers are special. They are basically private schools. They are there. You know.
These are part of the issues that we should address. And like I said, I think it is on the policies. The policies should be in a way that these people do not have that chance, where there is a check and balance system, right, where you can check these people. This is including every other government-owned institutions. Every other government-owned institution. See, when it comes to our education, it's like building, for instance.
Yeah.
It's like building. A building project is going on here. And it's not supposed to be here, or it's not up to standard. We have a development board that is supposed to monitor every building going on. And these guys just come and do whatever they do there, and this building continues, and the next thing you hear is that building collapsed. There will be loss of life and properties. Now, these are things that should have been prevented if the board responsible for checkmating that project did their due diligence. So I think it is high time we look at some policies.
You know, there are already established educational policies on ground in every state and for the country at large.
Of course.
I've seen some educational policy handbook. I'm an educationist. I have a postgraduate diploma in education, so I'm a qualified teacher. You know,
you're not teaching.
So I think that before now, you hardly see private schools in many places. Well, when I was coming up, I remember one or two private schools that came up. And when we saw some people going there, it was really, really strange. How will you enjoy this atmosphere? We had school where we had big football field, you have trees, you have forests, you have playground, big classrooms, and then you now see one small compound somewhere in the corner, and then you take your child there. We kept wondering, say, how will these children survive? What will they learn? How will they cope with the social environment? How would they be able to adapt to this environment? But with time, those